Wait a sec. Did that say the unspeakable story? Hold on. I thought we were doing the Hound of the Baskervilles. The Adventure of the What are you talking about? It's the Hound of the... Right? Did I make that up? I suppose I did. Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Take that! Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? What is it now? You should go home. Get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. Here are the representation papers. Isn't the point that we aren't allowed to publish... Oh, the story? I get, but you can't change the name of the case in the middle. It's sacrosanct. Your ladyship. Oh! I don't believe it. How the devil did you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that? I salute you. That is good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Lovely. Well, let's see now. Yes, I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit as a fiddle, your ladyship. Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime, then? Do as you please. You know where it happened? Through that door behind the counter. Yes! Falcon storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windibank and Gina. Right. Well, I'll be getting back to business then. Will you be investigating the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. There are so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case the Yard needs to investigate urgently. That must be what Lord Strongheart meant by far more serious matters before. So what I'm saying is, don't get under my feet, sunshine. Come then, let us not waste any time. Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Yes, and that's where I saw that dreadful scene last night, through the little window in the door. Mr. Windibank, face down on the floor, with Gina beside him. As the accused legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course. And we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are any clues in there, I'll find them. Wait, so we could linger a little longer here, I think. Am I supposed to examine the cameras before we go anywhere? Where are the cameras? Cannot hover over the camera. Assuming that's what that is. What about this thing? Did I ever figure this out? I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are. Though I'm not confident I can get it closed again. Oh yes, that's a folding stereoscope. Really? This is a stereoscope? Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see in 3 dimensions, but for that he used a great big contraption over there. Ah, well that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. But this little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself. Wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. I would charge people 5 yen to look at inside, and then I'd call it a 5 yen Lodian. It would beat keeping my toilet sparkling what? Cleaning toilets, eh? This is that strange contraption that lets you see pictures of things as if they're right in front of your eyes. It makes you think. When Mr. Sholmes gleefully showed it to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. I feel like there has to be, that has to be related in some way, right? There's the article ledger here, and Mr. Windibank's notes, and... What's this? It looks as though someone has left a little photographic print behind. Oh, look on the back. There's some writing. Is there... Oh, show us, Susie. Show us. "15th February, 10:30. Article deposited 1 gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid £1. Redemption deadline 15th April, 10:30 p.m. A gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1. Clearly, it was a very fine coat. In fact, I think... Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed yesterday, and is still wearing, which belonged to McGilded. I would never have expected the redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. It seems Mr. Windibank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have on hand. So are these going to be... maybe we put both of these into that stereoscope, and there's a hidden, So I was 11037 is going to pop out. But this photograph of the cat, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact picture somewhere else recently. You're right, very recently. It's the same as the one Ginny gave us earlier. Of course. I was forgetting that she gave us that print. What are you waiting for? Get it out! Right. Let the cogs turn. Let the cogs turn. Yes, they are exactly the same, he said incorrectly. One of them is slightly different. In fact, if I cross my eyes, if I go cross-eyed, then, well, I guess it's not a whole lot happens. It looks like a 3D cat. What you gonna do about it? Well, if the one on the counter was used as a redemption ticket, perhaps the other photograph that Gina gave us has something written on the back, too. I've got it. These 2 photographs hide an amazing secret. A secret? What does she mean? You must tell us, Iris, at once. Now that it's 3D, rotate it. Of course. Do you really, really, really want to know? Yes! We need you to tell us all. We need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs. That would be a clever puzzle, except that it doesn't make any sense. So, Iris, about these 2 photographic prints, the one we found here on Mr. Windibank's counter, and the one Gina gave us before. Oh, if I do that, I can't read. What is this amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these 2 identical prints? Actually, that's not quite right. Sorry. If you look carefully, the 2 prints aren't the same. Not exactly. They're not? Have another look at them now. Can you see that they're just slightly different from each other? I think so. It's very subtle, though. What was the... Oh, man. There was a weird Monkey Island puzzle where somebody had a map tattooed on their back, and you had to, they wanted you to rub suntan lotion on them, and if you went and got a bunch of, cooking oil instead and rubbed that on them, then they would horribly sunburn, and then you could rip the sunburned skin, like peel the skin off, and that's how you got the map. What's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? That guy. Oh, well, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London is raving about them at the moment. Ah, stereoscope. Why do I feel as though I just talked about those while looking at a thing that he knew to look at? That's what Mr. Sholmes showed us yesterday. You see, there it is, just over there, where you clicked 5 minutes ago. Ah, yes, of course, that magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch. Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those contraptions. What? Really? Do you know a pair of flat photographic prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. I'm dumb. Oh, wonderful. Then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon. Bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the scene. I, for one, simply have to know, even if it means that our friend is found guilty of murder. Have you ever considered, Runo, how our eyes see depth in the world around us? Well, I'll just fucking open them and it works. Do you know how seeing works? Yeah, you look. Duh. But the reason it works is because we have 2 eyes. 2 eyes? Shocking. If you try closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away. What you see with your left eye is super blurry because you're very nearsighted in your left eye. Or at least I am. What you see with your right eye are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye. Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly. Exactly, and in your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate depth as it merges the 2 views into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. Can't hear them if they're not there. My brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. I think I see, so the pair of photographs consists of a left eye view and a right eye view. Isn't that right? Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick. So, if you can persuade your brain to merge the 2 pictures inside your head, you'd be able to see the depth in these prints. Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand. And a stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that? Yes, but as long as you have 2 images, 2 eyes, and 1 brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing stereoscope at all. You can, really? Let's try it. Let's see if you can view this pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. I already did. I'm dying to have a go. Susato-san really loves this kind of thing. You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you both do that? Cross my eyes? I think I can. Watch me and see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this. Alright, let me try. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? No, you can tell they're different. If you cross your eyes, it actually does go 3D because the cat is more different than the background. Or no, is it the other way around? Which one? Things that are closer will be more different, and things that are farther back will be less different, and that's how you get it to look stereoscopic. There, how's that? Wonderful, now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when 2 people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. Look at this photograph. Every time it is a cat. Start by... Like, are they going to walk me step by step through how to... Yeah, like, duh. You should see two ever... Yeah. Yeah, obvious. Okay. I'm just going to have to give it a try. What, and then they didn't do it? Did the print split in two images for you? Now the next step. Here, yeah. So right here, if you do it, and you should be able to see like, oh, the background is in the back, and the bushes are in front of that, and the snowman's in front of that, and the cat's in front of that. And if you turn the cat around, then, you know. I usually, like, I can't really do the magic eye pictures very well, but I can do this. Put the pair of prints side by side like this, and then try crossing your eyes again. The prints should slowly merge together until they form a new single image in the center. Yeah! Oh, yes. Now she's suddenly Mettaton. Mr. Naruto, it works. I can see it in the middle now. It looks so real. Oh, I could look at it all day. It's what we had to do before we had the internet. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo. Pretend you're looking through the two pictures and slowly cross your eyes. Keep adjusting the position of your eyes until until you have to end the stream. Like, frickin' obviously he did it. Or he didn't do it. Is he too dumb? So now you know how stereoscopic images work. Is this going to be important? I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So, what do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? Certainly amazing, but isn't it easy to get the... But it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. But that's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. I recognize that. We saw one over there just a few minutes ago, didn't we? Alright. As long as I don't have to do Sudoku while cross-eyed. 3D Sudoku. Oh, I did not notice until just now that the calendar is smashed and shot and covered in blood. If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here. Then set the pair of photographs in the stand at the back, and... it's still not that amazing. Even though I know roughly how it works now. Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. But if these little machines are so affordable, surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic pictures. I'd never even heard of them until yesterday. We've certainly learnt a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledge that I'll ever actually need. Which reminds me, aren't I investigating a murder? The back of this photograph was used to write out the pawnbroker's ticket that Gina brought in here yesterday. And the other photograph came from the pocket of McGilded's overcoat. We need to examine everything thoroughly. Don't forget... Alright, I guess I'll do that now. Look on the back of this print here. There's something written on it. 13th February, 9 p.m. Article deposited 1 small box. Loan amount paid 10 shillings. Redemption deadline 13th April, 9 p.m. So this photographic print is a redemption ticket for an article that was deposited 2 days prior to the incident on the omnibus, it would seem. Yes, a small box. That doesn't tell us much about it, does it? Perhaps it contains some valuable mementos. That would work! It actually would work. I can't help wondering. Presumably, Mr. McGilded never redeemed the article in question since he still had the ticket. So isn't it possible that the box is still present somewhere in the shop? Ah, yes! If it's something McGilded deposited, we need to investigate. This is the ticket. Oh, this is the ticket that Gina brought in here yesterday. Yes, having been entrusted to her by Mr. McGilded 2 months earlier. Article deposited one gentleman's overcoat, and the other redemption ticket was in the pocket of that coat. Yes, for a small box, deposited 2 days before the omnibus incident. Could that have anything to do with all this? Maybe. Ah, look here. Oh yes, a bullet hole, and I can see the bullet is still lodged in the wall. Presumably, Mr. Windibank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Oh, well... Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. So, sorry? It's all there in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, you know. Isn't that right, Iris? Did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It is quite a dangerous pastime. He doesn't do it often. He shouldn't even do it once. Forget that for now, Runo. Let's examine this bullet. What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? A suspicious red stain on the calendar. I may well be able to help with that. What? There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Runo? I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it. You see, when it comes to blood, we're all different types. Yes, what a scientific observation. So you need this. Oh no. What is that scary-looking thing? Hurley and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet. We just call it Future Gadget Number 3. But as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch! That was the last thing I ever saw. Oh, it's luminol. Of course, we have to have luminol in every single game. The color of the bloodstain has changed. Does it make sense now? Yes, I think I'm starting to understand. Good, it works on the principle that different people have different types of blood, you see. What? How wonderful. What? The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. So you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at in a flash. Are you high? What are you talking about? What a fabulous invention. Okay, isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Ginny would say it's bleeding great. So whose blood are we looking at then? Well, all the chemical does is turn the blood a different color, so just find someone whose blood turns the same color and you'll know who it belongs to in a flash. Fortunately, there's only like 7 people in the world and 7 colors. Well, 2 flashes really, isn't it? 1 flash or 2, this could well turn out to be a very valuable clue. Is that Resident Evil 1? Which one has... 1 or 2? Which one has Chris Redfield? I don't know. I think it's 1. So we must make a note of it in the court record. Oh, we've got a whole chemical... Okay. We've made a spreadsheet out of it. Let's keep testing and adding the results of any blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have reagent left, sure. Actually, there's a stain on the back of that one photograph, isn't there? I think perhaps we should see if that can tells us anything, literally unplayable. Where do I ask Steam for a refund? Mister, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed. The red smear, you mean? Yes. It looks like blood, doesn't it? I wondered if Susato-san had picked up on that. Well, in that case, yes, we need Iris. We should show this to her before we forget. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Bruno, you can leave the rest to me. Look at that! Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add it to the portfolio of blood samples. It could be an important clue. Although, it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point. At some point in court? By stabbing someone and then shooting them with mysterious chemicals? Well, this particular stain of blood... Oh, you've had an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is? No? How could I? We don't have a known sample of the same color. Without that, it's impossible to know. Wait, you're trying to trick me into losing one hit point? How very vexing. I wonder. Cuckoo. What? Well, it's true the color doesn't help us. But what about considering how the mark came to be there in the first place? You might have an idea about that, mightn't you, Runo? I sure shan't have. Not if you keep staring at me like that, no. Let's try that again. Fine, then I guess I do. I have an idea, not from the color it turned, but with a little deduction. You know as well. You first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? I forget which one we're even looking at. We're looking at the one that was there on the counter. Well, I mean, we'll just go with him. You think somehow it could be Mr. Windibank's blood? Well, he would have been the last person to have handled the ticket. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. But Mr. Windibank had no injuries before he was shot, that is. We're trying to work out who the blood came from, so we can rule out anyone who hadn't been bleeding straight away. Yes, of course. Perhaps it's not a concept you can really grasp unless you've bled before yourself. She is going to take one of my hit points. Funny enough, funnily enough, I have accidentally cut myself before. Haha, hilarious. I get it. Because he bled. Because he stabbed himself and bled. Now that's comedy. Thanks for the mildly threatening advice. I have to think this through some more. Who do we know was bleeding at the time? We don't even know what the time is. Although I guess we do. Okay, this is Mason. Thrice fired Mason. You don't sound very sure of yourself the way you trailed off there. Well, it was 2 months ago now, that case. And of course, I'd never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember his name. He was definitely thrice fired, though. The victim of the omnibus case? Yes, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice Fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket here to Windibank's yesterday. I'm suggesting that the bloodstain was already on it at that time. So it's a smear of blood from the time that Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. The time was, have been, the time it will be exactly then. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves that night. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. It certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint, this mark, but we know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries at the time, anywhere on his body, from which we can conclude that any blood on the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound just like Mr. Sholmes. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well, let's make a note of this. Alright, now to actually go to the scene of the crime. I think, right? Yeah. Ew. There's a bug on the wall. Hang on. Oh no, I was on camera the whole time. You saw me. I'm the murderer. You saw me murder the bug. Although it happened off camera. It is not a big spider bug. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windibank's life was taken in this very room only last night. What are you doing here? I didn't say you could come in. Wait, Inspector! I didn't say you could leave. What is it now, Sunshine? You took one look at me and tried to run away. You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defense lawyer, do you? Well, I still would have went and grabbed the raid and sprayed it. But then I also would have went, ah! Well... I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. You weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Also, some gentle leave the 10-year-old at home instead of bringing her to a murder scene would also go a long way. Eh? Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? Kind of all of them, I guess. I do freak... It's been, like, months since the last time that I actually saw a spider in the apartment. But I'm anticipating that they will make a return as soon as the weather gets warmer, because that's, like, prime time for spider invasions, is around March. But I stand ready with my raid, my can of raid. I don't think that went very well. Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get out of my feet. And we have investigating to do ourselves. Yes! Falcon-like. I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Would I? Oh, Hurley. And inquire into how Mr. Sholmes' operation is going. No! Don't let them get you. Sholmes' operation. Gregsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? Well, the thing is... Don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... No. The operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well... Out with it! Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing. Renders the whole body insensitive. Don't you mean insensate? Oh, that's the same thing. Never mind. The whole body anesthetized. Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction. The trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. Now that the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently. Use cocaine. Easy. Oh my. No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes round again. Hurley. The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get the word to you. What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? I can make a little hat, or I can make a... And he's holding a newspaper to make the hat with. Sure, you got eyes, haven't you? Use them. But I don't know. People have to tell me how to use my eyes. It's very confusing. It is what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh yes, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, at shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside. So it was locked from the inside. The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police officers doing? Quite right, ma'am, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in as humbly as possible. Oh. As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. Next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the vile gutter child. The vile gutter child. Have to remember that for next time one of you guys pisses me off. I'll call you a vile gutter child. Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know. Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. No! Presumably, it's the gun that's still down there on the floor now. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to this storeroom? And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Alright. begin by look at this phonograph. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle? A gramophone? Oh, is that what it is? I thought it was a phonograph. Silly me. Musical instruments, even some enormous paintings. Look. Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust in here together. Something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least there would be, if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shuffling around. Not much I can do about that, sunshine. The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Windibank. He was a nice old man. Well, he was shot just once. Through the heart. Most likely the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. This must be his blood, then. I don't like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action. Pachow! Green. Not green. Blue? So now we know the color the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windibank's blood. Okay, so... Maybe the green was Holmes? Did he get shot and the bullet went right through him into the calendar? Doesn't match the analysis of the bloodstain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway. Oh wait, I can still look at this? Iris? Don't worry, I'm alright. But we must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. So that I can choose them. Out of all the articles in this storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. What is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Oh! Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely! That's not what all this... Have a good night, sir. I'll catch you later. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. We must check inside the box at once. Yes. Ah. It was there. Iris's story was there. Really? It was? That's good news, isn't it? Yes. I mean, of course, I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still. It's a relief to actually see it. Really? Because that's not a very well-hidden frown. And now to read it. Whoops. The Hound of the Baskervilles. How did Susato-san know the exact title of this unpublished story? Dots. I suppose I'll just have to wait till she's ready to explain it to me. I'm so sorry. Over here on the back, it's nothing. Whoa. Look at this blood profile. Ah, I see. This is a revolver, a real one. And quite quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windibank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Bruno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh, and I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windibank with this yesterday, didn't we? And as for trigger discipline, the worst I've ever seen. I shall have to take my own life. It must be the same gun, he reasoned unreasonably. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Mr. Windibank told us Mr. Windibank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Could be worse. Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver, he reasoned again, unreasonably again. Nothing else? Did I? I don't recall threatening anyone. I don't think we've almost never had to present something to someone, strangely enough. I could if I wanted more dialogue, but no. If you let your concentration slip, you might miss what people say. Did we not talk about something? No. Should I present this to him? Inspector Gregson, could you give me your opinion about this? We don't tend to share sunshine, not with the general public. Ugh. In that case, Gregsy, how about some herbal tea? Lovely. Very much. That really hit the spot. Your ladyship. You don't mind sharing that, though. Do. Is this just the guy? The police officer. The police are scouring every inch of this place by the look of it. Instructions from the auditor to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book of accounts. Every article? But that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. Been hard at it ever since the work was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're sifting through it all in shifts at least, but still. We'll be working through the night, that's for sure. And even then, we'll have barely scratched the surface. It's almost as if you should spend more than one day researching something for a murder case. Crime and pawnbrokers. It must be every policeman's worst nightmare. It's every copper's worst nightmare, you know? A crime and a pawn... blah blah. I've called the flowers around. That's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Bruno? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen? Ah, DMCA. What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Oh, this... have I done this yet? That ledger that's open on the counter there is really is enormous, isn't it? It must be an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head, if you ask me. Clearly, Mr. Windibank was very careful when it came to the articles in his care. Banned from all online platforms. We know that there's a freaking security camera that takes pictures every 30 minutes. Why can't I find it? The shelves. These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited on display for customers to buy. Yes, a really strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures here among all the junk, you know. Are you alright, Bruno? Oh, it's just, well, looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help wishing you owned them. Even that horse statue. That's exactly how the pawnbroker works. They're very clever. What is a boy to do? This officer has been staring intently at the wall since before we came in. Shh. Keep it down. Oh, sorry. There's a major clue just here. Really? Then we must tell Gregsy at once. As soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer. Stuck here? What do you mean? I've been home in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift. Ha. They really have a tough time, the British police. That doesn't stop us from investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. Fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at, but I had already looked at that. Or can I look at it again? Green blood. It just seems wrong somehow. Oh, there are all sorts of different colors. They can be pretty pinks and purples, too, you know? Like I said, everyone's blood is different. Wonder what color my blood would turn out. Actually, I don't want to know. Alright, I feel like we... it's green because she has a fluid that when you spray it on something, it changes the blood to a different color, and the color will depend on the person, so you can use it to establish that two blood stains were or were not the same person. Is there gonna be any clues out on the street? There's still a Scotland Yard carriage outside Windibank's. I never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home. Poor Iris, she's very upset by all this. I'm sorry. I was there. I should have done more. None of this is your fault, Bruno, so please, don't apologize. It's the criminals who are to blame for all this, so let's investigate and work out how to catch them. Yes, you're right. Nothing on the ground, nothing in the sky. It's already been 2 months that we've been taking lodging here above Mr. Sholmes' office. Still can't quite believe it. Never expected things would turn out like this. When Hurley comes back home, let's have a big party. That's a great idea. I'm sure it won't be long. Mr. Sholmes is very tough. Alright, maybe if I go to the hospital now. No. Oh, that is 1000% every Phoenix Wright game. Being a defense attorney is synonymous with investigating, like doing all of the investigating for your case. Well, a lot of the other games, you can only, when you go to move, you can only move to a room that's like connected. So, like, to move from one location to another, it'll say that there's only 4 places you can go, but it'll be like, okay, going to one of those places, now you can go from there to another place that wasn't on the list before. So this one is a bit unusual in that they don't seem to do that. You can go from anywhere to anywhere. You always get the full list. Although, how many? 8 locations total? That is on the higher end of total number of places to go. Well, I guess this probably changed just to be like, oh, she went for questioning. Can't talk to her. Not here. Must be in questioning. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, if you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Ginny could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Why would she do something like that? It would only make her situation worse. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking, of course. You were what? You were having a giggle, mate? You had me worried there. I thought it was a great deduction. Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight your words carry. Oh dear. I'm sorry. I suppose a light-hearted great detective is a contradiction in terms. Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would have just thrown his head back and guffawed. I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. Alright, good night, Ever. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes, come along then. Come along. Okay. Where to? I guess I'm gonna try presenting this, see if something happens. No good. Definitely checked everything in here. Keys? No keys. Ink? No ink. I'm trying running through these options even though it's just going to be a repeat. I can't imagine that clicking a conversation option twice would cause something, like, not when it has a check mark. The way you can identify differences in people's blood like this is amazing. You really are a genius, Iris. I know, I am. If Hurley and I put our minds to it, we could really shake up Britain's chemists and alchemists. And you could shake up Japan's lawyers and judges, couldn't you, Couldn't you? And you could shake up Japan's lawyers and judges, couldn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, for sure. Even if I didn't intend to. Talk to you about this? Oh, my manuscript. Mr. Sholmes said he'd deposited it at Windibanks, and he had. But it's so strange. What is it about this particular story? I worked so hard on it. Why would Hurley say I can't publish it? Afraid I have no idea. All you can do is wait until he's ready to tell you, I suppose. Oh, maybe. It's because Hurley isn't in it enough. Maybe I didn't give him enough good lines. Yes, maybe. Wish I could say that that definitely isn't the reason, but I can't. I showed you this, just a boring old thing. It looks like Japanese modesty is easily misinterpreted by young Western children. I mean, who does like boring things? No one wants to be shown something boring. Come to think of it, you're always introducing things, but this is boring, Buck. It's a bad habit. You should stop it. Be sure to let the entire population of the Empire of Japan know on my return. Knock off all that politeness and degozaru. Just say it normal-like. Preferably in English. There was the one note that said that he left a small box in here. Is that? I would have seen it if it was in the other room. But that's where it should be. Not that, is it? No. This is the first time in the whole game that I've been at a loss. There seems to only be two, like, really researchable locations. I guess I haven't inspected everything at the hospital? Oh, just kidding. I have. It's an unusual way to make use of a huge metal chest as a table for tea and coffee. Why not soda? But it's a very sturdy box, and I've noticed it's always locked. Oh, well, that's because That box contains some of my most important things, which you have no intention of telling me more about, judging from that guarded smile. We already know. Manuscripts. The fire is burning comfortably in the grate again today. It's a very different feeling to a Japanese hibachi somehow. Oh, he's been working on his disguises recently. He's been dressing as a woman, mainly. Really? Nothing wrong with that. It's 2022. Mr. Sholmes dresses in woman's clothes. Nobody's business. Yes, you see the lady in that photographic print on the mantelpiece? That's Hurley. It's quite stunning. Can't see it. Mementos of past cases. If you'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beef steak from Le Carnival will be on display here. Hurley says that Waggy is a memento too. What? How? He tried really hard to get the little fellow to stay on the shelves at first. Wagahai. He had to give up in the end. Waggy just couldn't keep still. Funny that. Come to think of it, I haven't seen you doing much writing recently, but there's already paper set up on the typewriter, I noticed, as if you're about to start. I'm a little bit stuck for a new story idea, actually. Consider using what happened to Mr. Natsume, perhaps. Oh yes, it's a fabulous idea. And a great title has just popped into my head as well. The Adventure of the Catty Man. How's that, Runo? No, there's no way. There's something here. This is all just stuff. Alright, well I guess we're gonna save it for right now, and we'll try again on Thursday. We'll get it figured out. So thank you everybody for being here. Hope you're continuing to enjoy the game. We'll get through it eventually. Tomorrow will be a Monsters Expedition. We're constantly making progress, so I'm still not confident saying, oh, we'll beat it, but I've put 7 hours into it, and, 10 hours seems like it would be a perfect length for the game, but I think it'll be a bit longer than that. Rubber chicken with the pulley in the middle. That would work, if I could find one. So thank you everyone, and have a good night. I hope to see you next time.